The best way to train for hiking is to just go out and hike. That is 100% true. But when it comes to this approach, there is one mistake which I see over and over and over again from hikers and trekkers everywhere, and that is not having a plan. Just like any type of training, a little bit of structure and a little bit of planning can go an incredibly long way to improving results. So if your idea of trek training is just simply choosing random trails each weekend, then you need to watch this video. So when you're thinking about trek training, your first step is to create yourself a plan. As with any type of training, one of the most important principles to follow is the principle of progression, which basically means you want to slowly and steadily increase both the distance and the difficulty of your hikes. Now this is important for two reasons. Number one is when you're training, you're simply giving the body stimulus to adapt. And unfortunately, the body gets used to things really quickly. So if you're not giving enough new stimulus each time you train, the body's simply just not going to change, and you're not going to get any fitter or stronger. Number two is for injury prevention. Now I'm sure you've been there before. You haven't done any hiking or training for a while, and you decide you're just going to go out and do a big hike. You get through it, but you can pull up really sore. Your feet and knees are really achy, and it takes you quite a long time to fully recover. And when we're training long term, this is something we really want to avoid. So by having this gradual build from progression, then you can really make sure you avoid. So how do you put this into action? Well, it's really quite simple. Get out your calendar. 2 weeks before you head off on your trek, you want to be scheduling in your longest training trek. Now this should be roughly equivalent of the longest day that you're going to be hiking while you're on your trek. Then you just basically work backwards from that date until now and fill out all the hikes that you're going to do. And then just make sure you follow that principle of progression we just talked about. Simple. So once you've figured out a rough plan, now you want to start thinking about technical skills. Now every trek is unique, and every trek comes with its own particular demands. And an absolute must is for you to thoroughly research these demands and include them in your training. Now, common examples of this include if you're going to be watching a sunrise on your summit day, you're more than likely going to be doing some night hiking. So it's an absolute must for you to go out, buy a head torch and practice this in your training. Or if you've got thousands of stairs to conquer while you're on this trek, it's probably a good idea to include some stair interval sessions in your training. Same goes for if you're carrying a heavy pack, or if you're expecting river crossings, or if you have lots of rock scrambling. 100% you need to be practicing these things in your training so you have no rude surprises when you're actually on your trek. And then finally, you should be using your trek training as an opportunity to test all the gear you're going to be using in your trek. Now, when you're training, you want to be trying to replicate the conditions of your trek as closely as possible. And it doesn't make much sense during your training hikes to be wearing sneakers if you're going to be wearing full boots while you're on the trail. So a few things you 100% need to test in your trek training are your boots, your pack, your hydration systems, your hiking poles, any type of nutrition you're going to be taking, so if it's sports bars or trail mix or anything like that, and literally any other thing that you're going to be using on your trek. Because again, you do not want any rude surprises while you're out there on the trail. So hopefully you now understand that planning your trek training needs a little bit more thinking than you first thought. But with a little bit of thought and a little bit of foresight, you can turn this into an incredibly effective training tool to help you towards a safe, enjoyable, and successful trek. So if you like that video, please subscribe to my channel below, where I'll be releasing new videos every week on all things training for trek.